we were talking about at the very beginning of the week on Monday, I believe, that there was just above the highs, there was this long-term 161% extension, Fibonacci extension that we were saying, hey, it looks like we're going to hit new highs, but we might struggle as we get there. And we actually turned right there basically yesterday, and it was on the heels of a lot of headlines that Craig's going to be talking about here in just a moment.
Yeah, markets have been lulled to sleep on Trump headlines for quite some time. We obviously lived with Trump tweets, throughout the entirety of the first term, and then for the first, few months of the second term, and traders on edge about what's he going to say regarding tariffs. And so I think people have forgotten that the president often likes to do things to move markets or move sectors. And so while we were grinding higher through 7,000 yesterday on minis, Trump decided in the early afternoon, to come out with two reasonably sized tape bombs. One on housing, where he talked about potentially banning institutional investors from purchasing single family homes, which is an interesting, dynamic. Clearly, the administration is sensitive to housing, wants to make sure that housing is affordable for new buyers, but also not try to crater the markets and have prices fall too rapidly. And so institutions are often seen as a pretty good scapegoat. And so I think, some efforts there maybe to come, and we'll talk to our guest later on this morning, Melanie Wright, about that. She's, very deep in the weeds in housing. And so that'll be a great conversation. And then about an hour later, he decided to throw some haymakers at the defense industry, basically talking about, these companies are not investing commensurate with what the administration wants. And so he talked about, capping CEO compensation, preventing share buybacks and dividends. And so just some big headlines from the president. And then after the close, he kind of went a little bit back and said, what I also want to do is I also want to raise the military budget by $500 billion in fiscal 27. And so I don't know, it just seemed like yesterday was a little bit of a transition day for the administration. Sometimes I feel like the president, does these things when he has some market currency to work with. Clearly strong markets have been benefiting him, and he's talked about them, ad nauseum. But when they kind of run counter to the polling data, and we've talked about that too, his concern about, why don't people appreciate what he's been doing? He often comes out and throws some headlines in there and try to arrest those declines. And so I think that yesterday was an interesting reversal day. The fact that the news hit kind of commensurate with, what Blake's talking about, these technical extensions. I don't know, sometimes when the fundamentals and the narrative and the technicals kind of all line up, interesting things happen. And so, certainly we'll, talk more about it, but I thought yesterday was a pretty interesting reversal day.
So do you think that he's taking advantage of the sort of the fact that we are at these levels and the relative calm to get in there and shake things up because he's got some room, some cushion to do it?
Yeah, I do. I think he's savvy like that. I think he really has an understanding of, what he wants to accomplish and what he wants to do, and how much he can really push the narrative in another direction. Now, I think people are very comfortable with this idea that he will taco, right? When volatility gets too high and things get a little bit out of control, he knows how to tampen down elevated volatility expectations. We've seen that before, and people have gotten very used to that dynamic. But there's also been times when he likes to introduce a little bit of volatility, act as a bit of a chaos agent when he feels like he's not getting the respect he wants or the popularity he wants, or in this case, what is he going to do to arrest the polling declines? I mean, midterms are not that far away. I know we just kind of finished an election, but, in November, I think he's really concerned that he is going to lose the House, lose some seats in the Senate, and, maybe have to go through the ordeal of being impeached again. And I don't think he really wants that. And so what could he do now in order to address concerns? He could talk more about affordability. He could try to address some of the needs of the low-end consumer, and he can really talk about some of his military strength, right? That's an area where he continues to, press on. And we have this Venezuela stuff going on, which is, getting more top of mind. The Greenland stuff is in the press. More talk about potential movement in Iran. So these are things that I think he feels like he has control over. And so, yeah, I think sometimes he can feel like he can use the market strength as a way to, enact some more supportive things that he'd like to accomplish. And, he could tolerate a little bit of a drawdown here in equities, maybe reintroduce some volatility in order to try to push some of that agenda into the public narrative.
You got the dollar. What chart do you have up now? Are you looking at Bitcoin?
Bitcoin, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just kind of flipping through some charts here.
So talk to us a little bit about that, because, we've seen weakness there. And there are a couple of narratives. It's unclear which one's driving. Luke talked yesterday about it being the only true fire alarm and maybe sending a signal of concerns about liquidity. There are other narratives, maybe, people a little bit worried about some sales coming from Venezuela. I think that's early and very speculative, by the way. But what are you seeing there in terms of price action?
I mean, price action is bearish. I mean, let's face it. And I think Luke's way he frames the outlook or how Bitcoin is you're right. It is the last true fire alarm, and this is where all the bulls are at. I mean, you think about like all the narratives, the other financial news, mainstream news, financial outlets. They parade around bulls all day long, selling this narrative that things are very bullish. I don't want to start throwing out names out here, but you have some very, very bullish known bulls that are very long crypto names. But more importantly, they were getting extremely bullish in the early part of 2024 and second half of 2025. I keep forgetting which year we're in. We're in 2026. This is last year. Everybody's getting really bullish, these crypto names, and right now they are under pressure and they look bearish. And if they start breaking down, price action suggests here that if we're not able to get above 100,000 in Bitcoin soon, we're probably going to be testing that 7,000 level. You can see that in the S&P, relative strength is divergence. That means as you're hitting new highs, if you don't have strength moving up as you're hitting highs, that means it's moving up on less strength, which means that there's more of a risk of a downside follow through at this point. But as a bull, you might see that and say, yeah, I get it. I'm not really too worried about it. But once you start breaching these lows, which in this case is around 68.20 or so in the SPOOs, you start breaching the lows that we saw from last week. That's when things get a little bit more concerning, or I guess it is last week. As soon as you break those lows, that's where bulls start to get worried. That's where trap doors are at. That's where sell stops are at. And so that's going to be the level, just a roundabout way of answering your question, Maggie. That's going to be the level that I'm most concerned with if I was a bull. And if I was a bear and I was looking to be, more of a predatory type of short seller in the market, I'd be looking on a breach of that level. That's when things get a little squirrely in the markets, let's say.
We've seen a lot of dispersion under the hood sector-wise every day, and it's really flipped various days. On Monday, energy really outperformed and defensives were very weak. And then on Tuesday, IWMs and small caps and pro-cyclical names really did well, and tech underperformed. And then yesterday, you had to flip back from value into growth, right? So it seems like what we have algos gone wild, right? We have flows coming into the markets. We have people who are establishing positions to start the year. Vol has been very contained, so systematic releveraging is going on. That kind of goes into the indices. And then you have a headline that comes into one sector or one name that leads to an outsized move. And so then that capital gets redeployed and reallocated into another area. And so I think we have that dynamic in play right now as vol has continued to come down. But I think as we kind of push through into Friday, and certainly next week is expiry, and then past that, we get into earnings season, right? And so, this dispersion that we have will likely to continue, and there'll be idiosyncratic that, companies that do well will outperform if they beat expectations, but we'll have to watch. If they blow numbers out and the stocks react negatively, then that's telling too. And so I think what we've had is this, early in the year kind of dynamic in play. And, but now it's, we're a week in now, earnings are coming. It's time to really get in the seat and figure out what's going to work, what's not going to work, what sectors are bid, where is earnings momentum coming. And, we'll learn a lot more about that, through the coming weeks through earnings season.
We talked yesterday about the potential for that failed break of 69.94. And we got that, right? So I did not predict that. I did not call that. That's for the LARPers on X with 200,000 followers that have never traded a dollar of their own money in their lives. But we prepare, right? We prepare for that potential situation and understand how to react and then know what the risks are. And we talked a little bit yesterday about what would need to happen then from there in order for sort of more meaningfully bearish things to occur. And the first thing is really that the prior day low has to be taken, which we have overnight, but we haven't traded a single minute of cash. We could just rip wrap back up and on a cash hour basis, never take out yesterday's low. That's entirely possible here. But if we do take out or open below yesterday's low, then formation of some kind of multi-day balance. And really this 36 to 42 was my major target for today. NQ is a similar picture, but not really, right? Because it never made a new all-time high. It failed yet again. There is an RTH gap, which just means that regular trading hours did not trade here between, I forget which day it was, but 26.015 half low. And then I think that the next highest high was 893 half. We sort of traded into that gap a few times and it just consistently found sellers. We talked about, the high 800s, 900s just have been continually nasty. And then, we talked about this 669 spot on NQ. It's a meme index, so it just loves the number 69. If you just literally mark every 100 points with 69, you're going to look at it and be like, oh, wow, that's a key level. And so it held that overnight. That was key. If you look left to last week, sort of that effective range was, roughly 770s, 780s, maybe down to that, 669 spot. And this week, again, it had been resistance. Trapped sellers, we talked about that yesterday. They got squeezed. The prior day, that was Monday. Now we've come back. It is held again. So that is going to also be very key because to me, if that spot is lost, it does bring in risk of coming all the way back down here. Maybe not down to the 530s, but I mean, at least 560s, 570s potentially are on the table. I will absolutely day trade this long. Against that swing short. I'm completely fine with that. It makes it hurt a little bit less if you stop out. And then if you stop out on your long runners, you're like, yeah, all right, my swing's working. So I call that hedging the edge, and I have no problem playing both ways. So that's where I'm at for today. It's going to be a very, very important day. I'm going to have to see sellers take out that prior day low, find some continuation. They can get through this 36 spot, 35 if you want to call it. That would be interesting and kind of surprising, honestly.